Welcome aboard. It's Captain G and Eggman for another update of Arnhem44. We are now complete with turn 7. We have 3 turns remaining. I'm starting you here in the middle of the road between Eindhoven and Nijmegen because this is where most of the action this turn was. Sure enough, the Germans received more reinforcements from that same southern highway and brought up these additional infantry units. They have 2 that went all the way up to support this Panzer battalion and these infantry, and another that stopped to control this crossroad and to threaten the Allies here if they didn't maintain a force. This is the extent of the 101st Airborne for their supply, tracing back to their drop zone. So I can't proceed forward for them. And the 82nd, as we said, cuts off here. So this is only up to 30th Corps. One key attack for the Allies this turn was clearing off this infantry. This is how we designate attacks when we're laying them out, just so you're tracking. It's something I picked up from Willem Boersma when I watched his self-play. I thought that was a good way to designate it. He did it to explain what was happening in his videos, but we use it in our play as well. So the green chips represent the fact that these artillery fired in support of the attack here, and Egg had an infantry unit that we wiped out. So we wiped that, we did that battle first. Once he was eliminated, that instantly put these guys into supply. They had been out of supply because of him. So that allowed them to attack with these artillery in support. It netted into nothing. We didn't make any progress. And then the Germans counterattacked with their artillery and actually supporting these units to damage this mech. So the middle of the road, the middle of the map, continues to be a struggle. Time is working against the Allies. On the air, I've called it and it's happening. The Allies rolled a 3 and only got 3 fighters, no bombers. The Germans rolled a 4, which also gave them 3 fighters. And our attempts to provide air cover to the supply drop up here were somewhat successful. He sent his fighters to attack ground units because the Germans always get to allocate their air after the Allies. So I had fighter protection for these because I was trying to drop supplies for these artillery. I was out. And he ended up shooting down, I think, 1. No, he missed on both because I have 2 supply markers. Yeah, I have 2 supply markers. So the fighter here was kind of wasted. And then the fighters that I sent to hit some of his other units really did nothing. Up here, between Nijmegen and Arnhem, the 82nd, this is the extent of their northern expansion from the drop zone, which is just off camera. So tracking this across the bridge, this is as far as they could go. So they attacked, as well as the 3 Polish battalions, this German infantry. Took him down 1 step, but didn't wipe him out because he had fire support from these German Flak 88s. So we were hoping to eliminate him, but it was really a difference of 1. We had 1 more combat factor, then it would have been 2 hits, which would have eliminated him, as opposed to just 1 hit. So he survived, and then he was part of the counterattack with this SS Panzer and this other German infantry, and they wiped out this Polish infantry brigade that was on the road. The other major attack that the Germans attempted this turn, you saw earlier when I was pointing out the British airborne supply, was they brought their heavy armor from around Arnhem down these roads with the 2 escorting SS. Now the SS, that was the extent of their movement. There was still movement remaining for the Panzer. So if they had had 2 hits on the British either eliminated it or forced them to retreat, either would have worked, then the Panzer could have moved forward and captured the British drop zone and those supplies. As it was, they did get one hit, but the reason you don't see it reflected is before we rolled that battle, the Allies played a card, Colonel Frost, John Frost, that canceled a step loss on a defending British airborne unit in one combat. So their one hit was canceled off. So that was a great card. And it was a turn of good cards, because the other two cards that were interesting that ironically both Egg and I picked up for play during the Allied turn said the same thing. For the Allies, we played this Dutch locals. We got to add one combat factor to any and all combats this game turn. That's the Allied turn as well as the German turn. And Egg had his card already selected, and he turned it over, and we both laughed. He had picked von Rundstedt, which allowed one combat factor for each and every combat this game turn. So the cards are balanced, and we're starting to see more commonalities, which I like. Deck's not slanted one way or the other, but that was fun. So that allowed us to add one to both sides, which you would think would somewhat cancel it out, but in many cases it really depends because of the way combat is resolved. You're calculating this difference in hits. So one hit for a defender could move it from 11 to 12, which necessarily would do nothing, but one hit could move for the attacker, say, from 17 to 18 or from 14 or 15, or either way. So it really does depend on what you roll, and that one extra hit in many cases did make a difference for one side or the other. So no success down here on the 82nd, or the 101st. We sent down an extra infantry. Still can't get them eliminated. Need to get rid of them because I can't have them in my rear breaking up supply. And I want to free up these infantry to move up here to take some pressure off 30th Corps and shore up this town at least. Get this artillery up. You can only use 2 artillery in support of one battle. So the fact that 30th Corps has 4 regular artillery and 2 self-propelled, that's 3 different battles. But I don't know if we're necessarily going to fight 3 different combats, whereas the Germans only have 2. So the Allied superiority doesn't necessarily help much because we're limited in how much we can apply to any one combat. And up here in the 82nd, this is the last area to cover, give you an update. The Germans have revealed their plan. It wasn't to circle around or come at 9 meg, and they've basically abandoned that, are moving down and crossing the river here to come down and support those 2 army groups that are trying to bisect and have interrupted the 30th Corps supply. So 82nd can only chase them so far, trying to engage them before they make it all the way across up there to stop them. These units got away. We did hit 1. These guys, because of the zone of control, can only move here, which would stop their movement. They would have to go around, but they can still escape. The other thing we have to watch out for is he still has reinforcements. I think he has 1 more infantry. I don't know when it comes, but it could come down this road and further interrupt supplies, or even come down this road and capture this drop zone, which I didn't realize was open for exposure until it was too late. But luckily he didn't get a reinforcement up there. So that's where we stand victory point wise. I think the writing's on the wall here. The Germans have 34 victory points. The Allies have 20, 34 to 20. I'd make a lot of that up if I could get a number of these 30th Corps units across the river and in supply, but I don't know if I can do all that in the 3 turns I have remaining, which means these all become German victory points, sadly. So we'll play it out. We don't know what's going to happen, but we are having a tremendous amount of fun. I hope you find these interesting, informative. I recommend the game. to anyone who enjoys this kind of thing. So for Eggman, I'm Captain G. Over and out.